Taman checked his weapon for the third time as the transport ship approached the Veiltar homeworld. The contract was simple enough. Protect Princess Hana during her diplomatic tour, keep her alive for 2 weeks, get paid and move on to the next job. He had been doing mercenary work for 3 years now, ever since humanity joined the Galactic Coalition. Most aliens saw humans as useful tools, strong enough to handle dangerous jobs, smart enough to follow orders, and cheap enough to be disposable. Taman did not mind. The money was good, and he needed to stay busy. The Veiltar were different from other aliens he had worked with. They looked almost human, but their skin had a crystal-like shine that changed colors with their emotions. They were tall and graceful with large eyes that seemed to see everything. They also had telepathic abilities that made them excellent at reading minds and coordinating in groups. When the transport docked, Taman was met by a tall Veiltar officer named General Samin. Her crystalline skin was a cold blue color, which Taman had learned meant suspicion or distrust. "You are the human bodyguard," she said. It was not a question. "Lee Taman, ma'am, former Earth Special Forces." General Soman looked him up and down. "Princess Hana is very important to our people. Do not disappoint us, I won't." The general led him through corridors made of what looked like living crystal. Everything glowed with soft light, and the walls seemed to pulse gently. It was beautiful but alien. Taman felt out of place in his simple black clothing and tactical gear. They arrived at a large chamber where Princess Hana was waiting. She was younger than Taman had expected, maybe in her early 20s by human standards. Her skin shimmered with gold and silver patterns, and her hair moved like it was underwater. She was studying a holographic display showing star maps. "Your Highness," General Soman said, "this is your human protector." Princess Hana turned and looked at Taman with those large, intelligent eyes. Her skin shifted to a pale green color. Taman did not know what that meant, but it did not seem friendly. "I requested Captain Darius or Lieutenant Chen," she said. "Both have excellent records." "They were assigned elsewhere," General Soman replied. "This human is available and qualified." Princess Hana walked around Taman like she was examining a piece of equipment. "He looks ordinary. Are you sure he can do the job?" "I've kept people alive before, Your Highness," Taman said quietly. "Have you? Against what kind of threats?" "Terrorists, assassins, enemy soldiers. Whatever needed handling." The princess stopped in front of him. "This tour will take us to 3 worlds. Each one has different dangers. Can you adapt to unknown situations?" "That's what humans do best, ma'am." Something flickered across her face. "Interest, maybe. We shall see." The first stop was Nexus Station, a massive trading hub that orbited between 2 star systems. It was crowded and noisy, filled with aliens from dozens of different species. Princess Hana had meetings with trade representatives while Taman watched the crowds. He noticed things that the Veiltar security team missed. The same person appearing in 3 different locations. A vendor who kept looking at the princess instead of his customers. Small cameras that had been placed in unusual spots. "Your Highness," he said during a break between meetings, "we're being watched." Princess Hana looked around. "I see nothing unusual. That's the point. Professional surveillance is meant to be invisible." He showed her what he had observed. The patterns of movement, the repeated faces, the hidden cameras. Princess Hana studied his explanations carefully. "Our security team uses telepathic scanning," she said. "They can detect hostile intentions. These people aren't hostile yet. They're just gathering information. You can tell all this just by watching. Humans are good at noticing when things don't fit. It kept us alive when we were still hunting animals on Earth." For the first time, Princess Hana's skin showed a warm yellow color. Taman thought that might be curiosity. The second stop was Corvani Prime, a mining colony built into the side of a mountain. The meetings were held in underground chambers carved from solid rock. Taman spent his time studying the layout, identifying escape routes and checking security systems. He found 17 different ways someone could attack the princess. The Veiltar had only prepared for 3 of them. "Your people think like your people," he explained to Princess Hana. "You assume attackers will be honorable and direct. Humans learned that enemies don't play fair." "Are you saying we are naive?" "I'm saying you're lucky. Most species in the galaxy follow rules when they fight. Humans learned to break rules a long time ago." Princess Hana was quiet for a moment. "And you think someone might break rules to hurt me?" "Someone always wants to hurt important people, Your Highness. The question is how far they're willing to go. The final stop was Threshold Outpost, a military installation on the edge of Veiltar space. The base commander, General Wubin, hosted a formal dinner in the princess's honor. The dining hall was elegant, with crystal walls that showed views of the stars outside. Taman sat at a side table, watching the room. The dinner was going well. Princess Hana was making speeches about peace and cooperation. The officers were applauding politely. Everything seemed normal. Then he saw the server who was moving wrong. The man was approaching Princess Hana's table with a tray of drinks. His movements were too smooth, too practiced. His eyes were scanning exits instead of watching where he was going. Most importantly, his skin was showing no emotion colors at all. Real Veiltar couldn't hide their emotions that completely. Taman was moving before he fully understood what he was seeing. He vaulted over his table and sprinted across the dining hall. The fake server saw him coming and dropped his tray, reaching for something hidden in his uniform. Taman tackled him just as energy weapons began firing from multiple directions. The elegant dinner had become a war zone in seconds. Princess Hana's guards were falling as attackers emerged from hidden positions throughout the hall. Taman rolled behind an overturned table, pulling the princess with him. Energy blasts were shattering crystal walls and setting decorations on fire. The Veiltar guards were trying to form defensive positions, but they were confused and outnumbered. "Stay down," Taman told Princess Hana. He grabbed weapons from a fallen guard and began returning fire. The attackers had planned well. They had blocked the main exits and positioned themselves with overlapping fields of fire. It should have been impossible to escape. But they had made one mistake. They had planned to fight Veiltar, not humans. Taman began moving through the room like a ghost. He used overturned furniture for cover, smoke from burning decorations to hide his movements, and debris from shattered walls to create weapons. When his energy weapon ran out of power, he picked up a metal serving tray and used it as a shield and club. He was not fighting like the Veiltar, who preferred elegant, coordinated attacks. He was fighting like a human from Earth, where survival meant using everything available and never giving up. Princess Hana watched in amazement as her human bodyguard systematically destroyed enemies who should have killed him easily. He moved like water, always where they did not expect him to be. He turned their own traps against them, using the environment as a weapon. When the last attacker fell, Taman was covered in cuts and burns, but still standing. Princess Hana stared at him with wide eyes, her skin cycling through colors he had never seen before. "How did you do that?" she whispered. Taman looked around the ruined dining hall. "I did what humans do, Your Highness. I refused to lose." The attack at Threshold Outpost was just the beginning. While Taman was helping Princess Hana escape from the ruined dining hall, rebel forces were striking across the Veiltar Empire. Communication networks went dark. Loyal military units found themselves cut off and confused. Within hours, it became clear that someone had been planning this coup for months. Princess Hana tried to contact her father, the Emperor, but all she got was static. The royal fleet was scattered across 3 star systems, and none of them were responding to her signals. General Soman was dead, killed in the first minutes of the attack. Most of the princess's guards were either dead or missing. "We need to reach a secure location," Princess Hana said as they moved through the damaged corridors of Threshold Outpost. Her skin was shifting between pale white and dark red, showing her fear and anger. "Where?" Taman asked, checking his rifle. "Everywhere we were supposed to go is compromised. The Imperial Palace has the strongest defenses. It's also the first place. They'll expect you to run." Taman stopped at a junction and listened carefully. Voices were echoing from nearby corridors. Rebel soldiers were searching for them. "We need to do something they won't expect. What do you suggest?" Taman smiled, and for the first time it was not a pleasant expression. "We hunt them instead of running from them." Princess Hana stared at him. "That is insane. We are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Numbers don't matter if you're fighting smart. These rebels have a command structure. Cut off the head and the body dies. You want to attack their leaders? I want to find out who's really behind this. Someone with access to military codes, imperial schedules, and detailed security information. Someone who knew exactly when and where to strike." They made their way to the outpost's communication center. The rebels had taken it over, but they weren't expecting anyone to attack them. Tamin moved through the facility like a shadow, using ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels that didn't show up on standard blueprints. The Veiltar had built their base with beauty and efficiency in mind. Every corridor was perfectly designed. Every room had optimal lighting and airflow. But they hadn't thought about defensive fighting inside their own buildings. Humans had learned different lessons. Earth's history was full of guerrilla wars, urban fighting, and desperate last stands. Taman knew how to turn any building into a fortress or a trap. He found the rebels in the communication room trying to crack the command codes. There were 8 of them, all armed and alert. Under normal circumstances, attacking them alone would have been suicide. But Taman had stopped thinking about normal circumstances. He used the base's own systems against the rebels. A few rewired cables turned the room's lights into strobes. A punctured coolant line filled the air with blinding steam. A damaged artificial gravity generator made the floor unstable. In 30 seconds, the organized group of soldiers became confused individuals stumbling around in chaos. Taman moved through them like a predator, striking fast and disappearing before they could respond. When the fighting was over, he had captured their communication equipment and 2 prisoners. Princess Hana found him interrogating one of the rebels in a storage room. "You're torturing him," she said, her skin flashing angry red. "I'm asking questions. There's a difference. This is not how civilized people behave." Taman looked at her seriously. "Your Highness, civilized people are trying to kill you. Sometimes you have to fight dirty to survive." The prisoner finally broke and gave them names. The coup was being led by Minister Wubin, Princess Hana's own uncle. He had allied himself with the Korvac Empire, promising them half of Veiltar space in exchange for military support. "Uncle Wubin?" Princess Hana sat down heavily. "But he helped raise me. He taught me statecraft and diplomacy. Family makes the best traders," Taman said. "They know all your weaknesses." They used the captured communication equipment to monitor rebel transmissions. The news was bad. The imperial palace had fallen. The emperor was dead. Princess Hana was the only surviving member of the royal family, and she was being hunted by her own military. "It's over," Princess Hana said. Her skin had gone completely gray. "The empire is lost." "No," Taman said. "It's just harder now." They left Threshold Outpost in a stolen transport ship. Taman had never piloted a Veiltar vessel before, but he learned quickly by watching the navigation computers and asking Princess Hana questions. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Back to Corvani Prime. If your uncle is working with the Korvacs, that's where they'll be planning their next moves." "That's suicide. The entire planet will be looking for us. That's why they won't expect us to go there." The journey took 2 days. During that time, Taman taught Princess Hana things they didn't cover in royal education. How to move silently, how to recognize threats, how to fight with improvised weapons, how to think like a hunter instead of prey. "Why are you doing this?" she asked during one training session. "You could have taken me to a safe world and completed your contract. Instead, you're risking your life to help me fight back." Taman was quiet for a moment. "Humans have a saying, 'You don't abandon family.' I know we're different species, but you're under my protection. That makes you family." Princess Hana's skin showed colors Taman had never seen before, complex patterns of gold and silver that seemed to pulse with emotion. "I think I'm beginning to understand humans," she said. They reached Corvani Prime during the night cycle. The mining colony was under martial law with rebel patrols everywhere. But the rebels were looking for a princess and her guards, not 2 miners in stolen work clothes. Taman had learned something important about the Veiltar during his time with Princess Hana. They were telepaths, but their abilities worked best with their own species. They had trouble reading human minds, and they couldn't sense his emotions the way they could with other Veiltar. This gave him an advantage he had never expected. They made their way to the colony's main communication array, a massive tower built into the mountain's peak. If Minister Wubin was coordinating with the Korvacs, this is where the messages would be sent. The tower was heavily guarded, but the guards were watching for large attacks, not 2 people with climbing gear. Taman and Princess Hana scaled the mountain face in darkness, using human mountaineering techniques that the Veiltar had never developed. At the top, they found what they were looking for. A secret communication station hidden inside the main array. Minister Wubin was there personally, talking to a holographic image of a Korvac general. "The princess is still alive," the general was saying. "This is unacceptable." "She will be found," Minister Wubin replied. "One human cannot protect her forever. One human has already caused significant problems. Perhaps we underestimated their capabilities. Humans are useful tools, nothing more. When this is over, we will dispose of them as well. Princess Hana's skin flashed pure white with rage. She started to move, but Taman held her back. Not yet, he whispered. We need proof. They recorded the conversation and prepared to leave. But as they were climbing back down the mountain, an energy blast nearly took Taman's head off. They had been spotted. Run, Taman told Princess Hana. I won't leave you. You have to. Get that recording to someone who can broadcast it. Show your people the truth. More energy blasts lit up the night. Taman returned fire while Princess Hana reluctantly began climbing down. But she was moving too slowly, trying to stay close to him. A lucky shot from the guards hit the cliff face above them. Rocks began falling like rain. Taman threw himself over Princess Hana, shielding her with his body as the avalanche came down. When the rocks stopped falling, they were both alive but trapped. Taman's left arm was broken, and he had cuts all over his face and hands. Princess Hana was bruised but uninjured. Can you move? He asked. Yes, but you need medical attention. Later. Right now we need to get off this mountain before they bring in more guards. They found a maintenance tunnel that led back into the mining complex. Princess Hana helped Taman walk, supporting his weight when the pain became too much. Why do you keep doing this? She asked. You could have let me get captured. Your contract would be fulfilled. That's not how it works, Taman said. When a human gives his word, he keeps it. No matter what, even if it kills you, especially then. They reached a communication station at the bottom of the mountain. Princess Hana sent the recording to every news network, military base, and government office in the empire. Within hours, the truth about Minister Wubin's betrayal was spreading across dozens of worlds, but they weren't safe yet. The rebels were closing in, and Taman was too injured to fight effectively. Your Highness, he said, I need you to listen carefully. If something happens to me, don't try to be a hero. Find loyal forces and let them protect you. Nothing is going to happen to you, promise me. Princess Hana looked at him with those large, intelligent eyes. Her skin was showing the golden color that meant affection and trust. I promise, she said, but only if you promise to keep protecting me. Deal. They shook hands like humans do. It was the first time Taman had seen a Veiltar make that gesture. Taman woke up in a medical facility that smelled like flowers and ozone. His broken arm was in some kind of crystalline cast that glowed softly. The cuts on his face had been sealed with what looked like liquid silver. Veiltar medical technology is impressive, Princess Hana said from a chair beside his bed. You'll be fully healed in 3 days instead of 3 months. Where are we? A loyalist stronghold on Nexus Station. Admiral Minho remained loyal to the crown. His fleet is small, but it's giving us a safe place to plan. Taman sat up carefully. Through the window, he could see Veiltar warships in formation around the station. They looked beautiful and deadly, like crystalline daggers floating in space. The recording worked, Princess Hana continued. Half the Empire now knows that Uncle Wubin is a traitor, but the other half thinks it's fake propaganda. The civil war is getting worse. What about the Korvax? They're moving 3 fleets toward our border. Once our military is weakened by fighting itself, they'll invade. Princess Hana stood and walked to the window. Her skin was cycling through different shades of blue, which Taman had learned meant she was thinking hard about something. I've been studying human military history while you were unconscious, she said. Why? To understand how you think, how you fight, how one injured human held off 50 soldiers on that mountain. She turned back to him. Do you know what I learned? Humans don't just fight wars. You understand war in ways my people never have. What do you mean? Princess Hana activated a holographic display. It showed historical footage from Earth, ancient battles with swords and shields, medieval sieges with catapults and arrows, modern warfare with tanks and aircraft. Every human conflict teaches the same lessons, she said. Adapt to survive. Use everything available. Never give up. Most importantly, protect what matters most, even if it costs everything. Those aren't just human ideas, aren't they? My people have been peaceful for 1,000 years. We fight with honor, in formations according to rules. When we face unexpected threats, we try to apply old solutions to new problems. She changed the display to show recent battles between Veiltar and rebel forces. Look at this. Our generals are fighting like this is a traditional war. Clean objectives, clear battle lines, honorable combat. But Uncle Wubin is fighting like a human. Dirty tricks, surprise attacks, psychological warfare. Taman studied the tactical displays. He's winning because he's not playing by your rules. Exactly. And that's when I realized something important. If we're going to save the Empire, we need to start thinking like humans. Over the next 2 weeks, Princess Hana transformed herself from royal figurehead into military commander. She studied every human conflict in the historical databases. She learned about guerrilla warfare, intelligence operations, and propaganda campaigns. But more than that, she began to understand human nature. Your species is unique, she told Taman during one of their planning sessions. Other races in the galaxy developed technology, art, philosophy. But humans developed the ability to adapt to anything. We had to. Earth was a dangerous place, and that's what makes you valuable. Every other species has limits. Things they won't do, lines they won't cross. Humans have fewer limits. Is that good or bad? Princess Hana was quiet for a moment. It depends on what you're protecting. She began applying human tactics to the Civil War. Instead of trying to win large battles, she focused on small victories that would build momentum. Instead of making grand speeches about honor and duty, she started showing the Veiltar people what the rebels were really doing. The most important lesson came from studying human resistance movements. When facing superior forces, humans didn't try to match their enemy's strength, they made the enemy's strength into a weakness. Uncle Wubin has control of the government and most of the military, Princess Hana explained to Admiral Minho and his officers. He's stronger than us in every traditional measure. Then how do we fight him? Admiral Minho asked. We make his strength irrelevant. He controls the government, so we prove the government is corrupt. He has the military, so we turn the military against itself. He has the Korvac alliance, so we make the Korvacs a liability instead of an asset. The first phase of the plan worked perfectly. Princess Hana's agents began leaking information about Minister Wubin's promises to the Korvacs. When the Veiltar people learned that their own leader planned to give away half their worlds to aliens, public opinion shifted dramatically. The second phase was more dangerous. They needed to split Minister Wubin's forces by making his alliance with the Korvacs look like weakness instead of strength. We're going to let them capture me, Princess Hana announced. Absolutely not. Taman said immediately, it's the only way. Uncle Wubin needs me alive to legitimize his rule. But the Korvacs want me dead to eliminate future threats. When they disagree, the alliance will crack. And if you're wrong, if they just kill you immediately? Princess Hana smiled, and for the first time it looked like a human smile, dangerous and full of hidden plans. Then you'll rescue me. That's what you do. The trap was set on Threshold Outpost where the coup had started. Princess Hana allowed herself to be seen by rebel scouts, then let them chase her into a seemingly inescapable position. When Minister Wubin arrived with a full military escort, she was waiting in the same dining hall where Taman had first saved her life. Surrender, Hana, Minister Wubin said. You've caused enough damage. Hello, Uncle. I see you brought friends. A Korvac general emerged from behind the Veiltar soldiers. The Korvacs looked like insects that had learned to walk upright. They had 6 arms, compound eyes, and mandibles that clicked when they spoke. The princess must be eliminated, the Korvac general clicked. She represents a continuing threat to stability. She is my niece, Minister Wubin said. She will acknowledge my claim to the throne and then retire to private life. Unacceptable. Royal bloodlines create future problems. Princess Hana watched the argument with interest. The alliance was already cracking exactly as she had predicted. I have a third option, she said. Both leaders turned to look at her. Single combat. Uncle Wubin and me. Winner takes the throne. No interference from outside forces. The Korvac general's mandibles clicked with what might have been laughter. Foolish. You cannot defeat a seasoned warrior. Maybe not, but I don't have to. Princess Hana smiled again. I just have to prove that humans were right about one thing. Sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to lose. Minister Wubin drew his energy sword. Very well. Let's finish this. The duel began traditionally with both fighters circling each other and testing defenses. But Princess Hana had learned new tactics during her time with Taman. Instead of fighting like a Veiltar noble, she fought like a human. She used the environment. When Minister Wubin cornered her against a wall, she kicked debris at his face and rolled away. She broke rules. When he expected an honorable parry, she dropped low and swept his legs. She adapted constantly. Every time he thought he understood her new style, she changed it. Most importantly, she never gave up. Even when Minister Wubin's sword cut her shoulder, even when she was bleeding and exhausted, she kept fighting. The Veiltar soldiers watched in amazement. They had never seen their princess fight like this. She moved like Taman had during the original attack, using everything available and refusing to accept defeat. In the end, Minister Wubin made the mistake of getting angry. He abandoned his own training and tried to overpower her with brute force. Princess Hana used his momentum against him, stepping aside at the last moment and letting him crash into a crystal pillar. When the dust settled, Minister Wubin was unconscious and Princess Hana was standing over him with his own sword. "The duel is over," she announced. "I claim the throne by right of combat." The Korvac general clicked angrily. "This changes nothing. We will take what was promised." "Actually, it changes everything," Princess Hana said. She activated a communication device and suddenly the room filled with holographic images. Every news network in the galaxy was broadcasting the scene live. The entire galaxy just watched a Veiltar princess defeat a traitor in single combat, she said. They also watched that traitor's alien allies threaten to invade anyway. How do you think that makes us look? The Korvac general realized his mistake too late. By threatening to attack after their ally had been defeated fairly, the Korvacs had revealed themselves as dishonorable aggressors. Public opinion across the galaxy would turn against them. Clever, the general clicked, but ultimately irrelevant. Our fleets are already moving. Yes, they are. And they're about to meet something unexpected. Through the station's windows, new shapes appeared among the stars. Ships with different designs moving in formations that no Veiltar had ever seen before. "You see," Princess Hana said, "while I was learning to think like a human, I also learned to act like one. When you need help, you ask your friends." The human fleet had arrived, led by Commander Jihoon and carrying the most dangerous cargo in the galaxy. Human military advisors who were ready to teach the Veiltar how to fight like humans. "Welcome to the new age of warfare," Princess Hana said to the Korvac general. "I hope you're ready to adapt." The coronation of Queen Hana took place 3 days after the duel with Minister Wubin. The ceremony was held aboard Admiral Minho's flagship, while Korvac invasion fleets moved toward Veiltar space. It was not the grand celebration that royal coronations usually were, but rather a military necessity. "Your Majesty," Admiral Minho said as he placed the crystal crown on her head, "the enemy will reach our borders in 6 hours." Queen Hana looked out at the mixed fleet surrounding them. Veiltar warships with their elegant curves and glowing hulls were now flying in formation, with human vessels that looked like angular pieces of metal bristling with weapons. "Are our forces ready?" she asked. "As ready as we can make them in 3 days, Commander Jihoon replied. He was a compact human with gray hair and scars on his hands. "Your people learn quickly, but human tactics take time to master." Taman stood beside the queen, his arm finally out of the crystal cast. He had been promoted to Royal Guard captain, though he still wore his simple black uniform instead of the elaborate Veiltar ceremonial armor. "The Korvacs have 3 full battle fleets," he said, studying the tactical displays. 200 ships total. "We have 80. Numbers don't tell the whole story," Commander Jihoon said. "The Korvacs are expecting to fight Veiltar. They're not ready for what we've taught your people." Queen Hana had spent the last 3 days learning more than just human military tactics. She had learned to think like a human commander, which meant accepting that victory might require terrible choices. "What's our primary objective?" she asked. "Survival," Admiral Minho said immediately. "No," Queen Hana replied. "Survival is what we're defending. Victory is what we're fighting for. There's a difference." She turned to address both human and Veiltar officers together. "The Korvacs think this will be a traditional war, fleet against fleet, world against world until one side surrenders. But we're going to fight like humans fight. We're going to make this so expensive for them that they'll wish they had never heard of the Veiltar Empire." The first battle took place at Corvin's Edge, a nebula that marked the border between Veiltar and neutral space. The Korvac fleet arrived expecting to sweep aside token resistance and begin their invasion. Instead, they found something that had never existed before: a combined human-Veiltar battle formation. The Veiltar ships used their superior shields and energy weapons to draw enemy fire. But instead of the traditional Veiltar tactic of standing and fighting, they moved like human fighters, using hit-and-run attacks and refusing to get trapped in prolonged engagements. The human ships did what they did best: turned the environment into a weapon. They used the nebula's gas clouds to hide their movements, laid mines in asteroid fields, and fired torpedoes from directions the Korvax never expected. "This is impossible," the Korvax fleet commander transmitted on an open channel. "You have half our numbers. You cannot win." "Watch us," Queen Hana replied from her command ship. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it was over, the Korvax force had been reduced by a third while the human Veiltar fleet had lost only 6 ships. More importantly, the Korvax had learned that their intelligence about Veiltar capabilities was completely wrong. "They'll be more careful now," Taman warned as they regrouped. "They won't underestimate us again." "Good," Queen Hana said. "Careful enemies make mistakes trying to be too safe." The second major battle took place 2 weeks later at the Crystal Mines of Vorth. The Korvax had learned from their first defeat and brought overwhelming force, 500 ships against the combined fleet's 90. But Queen Hana had been learning too. She didn't try to fight them in open space. "We're going to let them have the system," she announced to her commanders. "Your Majesty," Admiral Minho protested, "those mines produce half our crystal energy. We can't just abandon them." "We're not abandoning them. We're preparing them." The Veiltar had always thought of their crystal mines as resources to be protected. Humans thought of them as weapons waiting to be triggered. When the Korvax fleet arrived at Vorth, they found the system apparently undefended. The mining stations were empty, the orbital platforms were dark, and there was no sign of the enemy fleet. They began landing troops on the mining worlds, setting up bases and preparing to extract the valuable crystals. Everything was going according to their plan. Then the crystals started exploding. Human engineers had taught the Veiltar how to turn their own mining equipment into bombs. Resonance charges that could shatter crystal formations, focused energy beams that could cause chain reactions through entire mountain ranges, gravity manipulators that could collapse mining tunnels with enemy forces inside. Within 6 hours, the Korvax ground forces were trapped on worlds that had become giant weapons. Their fleet was stuck in orbit, unable to retreat without abandoning their troops, unable to advance without losing more ships to the ongoing explosions. That's when Queen Hana's fleet attacked. "Now, they know how it feels to be outnumbered and trapped," she said as human and Veiltar ships struck from multiple directions. The Battle of Vorth lasted 3 days. When it was over, the Korvax invasion force had been cut in half, and their remaining ships were retreating toward their own territory. But Queen Hana wasn't finished with them yet. "Your Majesty," Commander Jihoon said, "they're beaten. We should focus on rebuilding our defenses." "That's Veiltar thinking," Queen Hana replied. "Humans don't stop when the enemy retreats. They make sure the enemy never wants to attack again." She launched the most audacious operation in Veiltar history, an invasion of Korvax space itself. The attack fleet was small, just 20 ships, but it was the most dangerous force the galaxy had ever seen. Human crews flying Veiltar ships with combined weapon systems. Veiltar officers trained in human small unit tactics. Most importantly, they were led by Queen Hana herself with Taman at her side. They struck the Korvax homeworld like a lightning bolt. The Korvax had never been invaded before. Their home defense fleet was designed to prevent massive assaults, not to stop a small force that fought like ghosts. Queen Hana's ships appeared without warning, struck military targets with surgical precision, and vanished before the defenders could respond. "This is a message," Queen Hana broadcast to the Korvax leadership. "You attacked my people. You killed my father. You tried to destroy my empire. Now you learn what happens when you threaten something a human has sworn to protect." The raids continued for 2 weeks. Every time the Korvax thought they understood the attack patterns, Queen Hana changed them. Every time they concentrated their defenses in one place, she struck somewhere else. Finally, the Korvax Emperor requested a meeting. They met in neutral space, aboard a diplomatic station run by the Galactic Coalition. The Korvax Emperor was ancient even by his species standards, with scars across his chitin that spoke of 1,000 battles. "You fight like no Veiltar in history," he clicked to Queen Hana. "That's because I learned from humans. Yes, we underestimated your human allies. We thought they were simple mercenaries." Queen Hana smiled. "Humans are never simple. That's what makes them dangerous." The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. The Korvax would withdraw from all Veiltar territory, pay reparations for the damage they had caused, and never again interfere in Veiltar affairs. But the most important clause was the one that recognized the human Veiltar alliance as a permanent partnership. Why did you agree to that? The Korvac Emperor asked. You could have demanded much more. Because, Queen Hana said, I learned something important from humans. True strength doesn't come from conquest. It comes from building something worth protecting. The coronation fleet returned to the Veiltar homeworld as heroes. Queen Hana's first act as peacetime ruler was to establish the Integration Academy, where humans and Veiltar would learn from each other. Her second act was to promote Taemin to royal advisor. I don't know anything about politics, he protested. You know about protection, Queen Hana replied. And that's what this empire needs most. The ceremony was held in the rebuilt Crystal Palace. Representatives from dozens of species attended, including Commander Jihoon and a full delegation from Earth. You've started something unprecedented, Commander Jihoon told Queen Hana during the reception. The first truly equal partnership between human and alien civilizations. It won't be the last, Queen Hana said, watching Taemin teach. Veiltar children human combat techniques while human engineers learned crystal technology from Veiltar masters. Your Majesty, Admiral Minho approached with a concerned expression. We've received intelligence reports. Several other empires are watching our alliance with interest. Some of them seem worried about what we might accomplish together. Queen Hana looked out at the celebration, where humans and Veiltar were laughing and working together as equals. Let them worry, she said. We're not building an empire based on fear. We're building something based on trust. But even as she spoke, she could see Taemin scanning the crowd, his eyes watching for threats that might never come. Some habits, she realized, were too important to break. Your Majesty, he said quietly, moving to her side. There are rumors that the Zellan Federation is considering military action against our alliance. Queen Hana nodded. Then we'll deal with that when it comes, together. Together, Taemin agreed. 6 months had passed since Queen Hana's coronation, and the Veiltar Empire had become something entirely new. The Crystal Palace now housed both Veiltar nobles and human advisors working side by side. The royal fleet flew mixed formations where human tactical thinking merged with Veiltar technology. Most importantly, the Empire's enemies had learned to fear the combination of human adaptability and Veiltar honor. But change brought new problems. Taemin stood in his office overlooking the palace gardens, reading intelligence reports that made his head hurt. 7 different alien empires had formed the Coalition of Concerned Worlds, claiming that the human Veiltar alliance posed a threat to galactic stability. They're afraid, Queen Hana said, entering with her usual silent grace. Her skin was showing deep blue patterns, which Taemin had learned meant she was thinking about difficult problems. They should be, he replied. In 6 months, we've defeated an invasion, stabilized 3 star systems, and established trade partnerships with species that have been enemies for centuries. That kind of success makes everyone nervous, especially when it comes from cooperation instead of conquest. Queen Hana walked to the window beside him. The gardens below showed the changes better than any report could. Veiltar children played games taught by human teachers. Human engineers worked with Veiltar artisans to build beautiful machines that were also perfectly functional. It was a sight that would have been impossible a year ago. I received a message from Commander Jihoon today, Taemin said. Earth is offering me a promotion. Admiral in the human colonial fleet. My own ship and a crew of volunteers. Queen Hana's skin shifted to pale white. What did you tell him? That I'd think about it. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the mixed crowds below. Finally, Queen Hana spoke again. You've completed your contract, you know, protecting the princess during her diplomatic tour. You could leave with honor. I could, Taemin agreed. But you won't. Why do you say that? Queen Hana smiled, and it was the complex expression she had learned from watching humans. Because if you were planning to leave, you wouldn't have told me about the offer. You would have just left. Taemin had to admit she was right. The situation here is still dangerous. The Coalition of Concerned Worlds isn't just making threats. They're moving ships into position. So you're staying out of duty? I'm staying because this matters. What we've built here, what we're proving about cooperation between species, it could change everything, but only if it survives. Queen Hana turned to face him fully. And if I ordered you to leave? If I said the Empire would be safer without humans drawing attention from our enemies, you wouldn't do that? Why not? Because you've learned to think like a human. And humans don't abandon their partners when things get difficult. The conversation was interrupted by Admiral Minho's arrival. The old Veiltar officer was carrying data tablets and wearing the expression that meant crisis. Your Majesty, we have a problem. The Coalition fleet is larger than our intelligence predicted. 2,000 ships from 7 empires all converging on our borders. How long do we have? Queen Hana asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4. Taman studied the fleet composition data. This isn't an invasion force. It's an extermination fleet. They're not planning to conquer us. They're planning to destroy us completely. Which means negotiation won't work, Queen Hana said. They're too afraid of what we represent to let us continue existing. What are our options? Admiral Minho asked. Queen Hana was quiet for a long moment, her skin cycling through colors that showed complex thought processes. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but sad. We have 3 choices. We can surrender and accept dissolution of our alliance. We can fight and probably lose. Or we can run. Run where? Admiral Minho asked. They're coming from 7 different directions. Beyond the galactic rim, Taman said quietly. There are unexplored systems out there. We could establish new colonies, rebuild away from the Coalition's reach. That's exile, Admiral Minho protested. We would be abandoning our homeworld, our history, everything we've built for thousands of years. Better than being dead, Taman replied. Is it? Queen Hana asked. What's the point of survival if we lose everything that makes survival worthwhile? She walked to her desk and activated a holographic display showing the entire Veiltar Empire. Dozens of star systems, hundreds of worlds, billions of lives. I became queen to protect my people and preserve our way of life. Running away would save some of us, but it would destroy everything we are. Fighting might destroy everything too, Taman pointed out. Maybe. But at least we would face destruction on our own terms. Admiral Minho looked between them. Your Majesty, if we're going to fight, we need every advantage we can get. That means asking Earth for help. Earth can't spare enough ships to make a difference, Taman said. And even if they could, bringing human fleets here would just prove the Coalition's point about us being a threat. Then what do you suggest? Queen Hana was studying the star charts with intense concentration. We don't fight them where they expect. We don't defend our borders or our homeworld. We make them come to us and we choose the battlefield. Explain, Admiral Minho said. The Nexus Cascade, Queen Hana said, highlighting a region of space on the display. It's a natural phenomenon that occurs every few years. Gravitational currents that can pull ships off course. Energy storms that interfere with communications. Asteroid fields that shift without warning. It's also neutral territory, Admiral Minho said. No one claims ownership of the Cascade. Exactly. If we can draw the Coalition fleet into the Cascade during the peak disturbance period, their numerical advantage becomes meaningless. Large formations become impossible. Ship-to-ship combat becomes the only option. And that's where human tactics work best, Taman realized. Precisely. But it means abandoning our defensive positions. We would be gambling everything on a single battle in the most dangerous region of space. Admiral Minho was quiet for a long moment. Your Majesty, this plan is incredibly risky. If we lose, there will be no retreat, no second chance. The entire fleet would be destroyed. And if we win, Taman said, we prove that cooperation is stronger than fear. The Coalition breaks apart, and other species start thinking about partnerships instead of domination. Queen Hana looked at both of them. I need to know that my advisors support this decision, because once we commit to this plan, there's no going back. I support it, Admiral Minho said immediately. My people chose you as queen. I will follow you into the Cascade or anywhere else. Both of them turned to look at Taman. He was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the human fleet offer, about the safety of distance, about all the reasons he could have for leaving. Taman, Queen Hana asked, I'm thinking about something Commander Ji-hoon told me once. He said that humans don't become heroes by seeking glory. They become heroes by being in the right place at the right time and refusing to walk away. And this is the right place. This is the right time, he smiled. And I've never been very good at walking away. Queen Hana's skin flashed with colors Taman had never seen before. Complex patterns of gold, silver, and blue that seemed to pulse with emotion. Then it's decided. We make our stand at the Nexus Cascade. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. The entire Veiltar fleet was retrofitted with human-designed modifications. Communication systems that could work in energy storms, navigation computers that could plot courses through shifting asteroid fields, weapon systems that could target enemies at close range in chaotic conditions. Human volunteers arrived from Earth, not as official military support, but as technical advisors and cultural exchange personnel. It was a polite fiction that fooled no one, but it allowed Earth to provide help without officially declaring war on 7 empires. You know, Commander Jehoon said to Taman during one of their planning sessions, you could still accept that promotion. Lead a human fleet into the Cascade alongside Queen Hana's forces. No, Taman replied. My place is here on her ship doing what I've always done, which is keeping her alive. The Coalition fleet arrived exactly on schedule, a massive armada that blotted out the stars. They had expected to find the Veiltar forces defending their homeworld or hiding behind their strongest fortifications. Instead, they found empty space and a simple message broadcast on all frequencies. This is Queen Hana of the Veiltar Empire. If you want to destroy us, you'll have to follow us into the Nexus Cascade. We'll be waiting. The Coalition commanders were furious. They had brought overwhelming force to crush the human Veiltar alliance, not to chase them through the most dangerous region of known space. But they had no choice. Their entire plan depended on eliminating the alliance completely. If Queen Hana's forces escaped into the unexplored regions beyond the Galactic Rim, they could rebuild and return stronger than ever. The Coalition fleet entered the Nexus Cascade 3 days behind the Veiltar forces, just as the gravitational disturbances reached their peak intensity. Within hours, their perfect formations had been scattered by energy storms and gravitational currents. Their massive ships found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Their communication networks became useless in the electromagnetic chaos, and that's when Queen Hana's fleet attacked.